there are a bunch of IPOs coming up, right? I was looking at the B.R. Goyal Infrastructure one, and wow, it's a pretty big issue, about 85 crore rupees, I think.
Yeah, it's a book built issue, meaning the price is determined by the demand. And, it's entirely a fresh issue of shares which will expand their capital base. So they are looking for growth and expansion.
Okay. And what about the price? It's set at 128 to 135 rupees per share. Is that right?
That's correct. And the minimum investment for retail investors is around 1,35,000 rupees since the lot size is 1,000 shares. It's like buying a small chunk of the company's future.
Right. So you'd need to have some serious cash to get involved then. Okay, that makes sense. So who's managing this whole thing?
Well, Beeline Capital Advisors is the lead manager. They are handling the process and making sure the IPO runs smoothly. And Link in Time is the registrar dealing with share allotments. It's kind of like having a team to navigate the process.
Okay, so there are a lot of pieces to this. Now, looking at the other IPOs, I see Delta Autocorp. What do they do?
Delta Autocorp is in the electric vehicle space. They manufacture and sell both 2 and 3-wheeler EVs under the brand Deltic. So think e-rickshaws and scooters primarily, which is a growing market.
Okay, that's interesting. So they are in the EV space. Their issue size is smaller than B Royal, though, about 50.6 crore rupees.
Right, it's smaller, and this includes both a fresh issue and an offer for sale. So some existing shareholders are also selling their shares, along with the company issuing new ones. It's like a mix of new and old money coming in.
So it is a little different then. What's the price band there?
The price band is set at 123 to 130 rupees per share, and the minimum investment is 1,30,000 rupees for a lot of 1,000 shares. So pretty similar in terms of investment level as Goyal, but a slightly lower price per share.
Yeah, got it. And who's managing the Delta Autocorp's IPO?
GYR Capital Advisors is the lead manager, and Link in Time is handling the registrar duties for them too. So it's a familiar setup, just with different players.
Right. So that's two. Now, the last one I see is Avax Apparels and Ornaments. That's a bit different, right?
Yeah, Avax is a different ball game. They are into wholesale trading of knitted fabric and online retail of silver ornaments. It's kind of a mixed bag.
That's quite a diverse portfolio. And their IPO is much smaller, I see, just 1.92 crore rupees.
That's right. It's a fixed price issue, unlike the book built ones we discussed, meaning the price is already set at 70 rupees per share. And it's a completely fresh issue, no offer for sale.
Okay, that's simpler then. So at 70 rupees a share, what's the minimum investment?
The lot size for Avax is 2,000 shares, making the minimum investment 1,40,000 rupees. So a similar range, but more shares and a lower price per share, actually.
Right, got it. And they have a different lead manager as well?
Yes, SKI Capital Services is managing the IPO, and Skyline Financial Services is their registrar. So each one has its own team and, its own process.
So 3 different IPOs, all launching around the same time, all a little different. What's the basic timeline for these IPOs? Do we know that?
Well, they all open for subscription on January 7th and close on January 9th. That's when you can actually apply. The allotment, that's when you know if you got the shares, is expected around January 10th. And the listing, when they start trading, is planned for January 14th.
Okay, so pretty tight schedule for all of them then. What about the actual business of B.R. Goyal?
So B.R. Goyal is an infrastructure company engaged in the construction of roads, highways, bridges, and buildings. They have a ready-mix concrete unit and have also dabbled in wind energy with a 1.25 megawatt wind turbine in Rajasthan.
Okay. So they have a few different revenue streams. And what about Delta Autocorp's business model?
Delta Autocorp focuses on electric 2 and 3-wheelers, and they sell under the brand Deltic. They initially started with e-rickshaws, but then moved into electric scooters for tier 2 and 3 towns. They are trying to tap into that mass premium segment.
Right. They're focusing on the areas with the most growth potential. And Avex being the apparel and ornaments, how do they make their money?
Well, Avax does wholesale trading of knitted fabric, and they also sell silver ornaments online, which is an interesting mix. They've got a location advantage since they're based near the Center for Cloth Manufacturing.
Okay, so location is key for them. So about the objectives, what do they intend to do with all this money they are raising? starting with B.R. Goyal.
Well, B.R. Goyal intends to use the funds for capital expenditure, working capital, and acquisitions for inorganic growth. So they're aiming to expand their business and footprint.
But that's pretty standard. And what about Delta Autocorp's plans?
Delta Autocorp wants to set up an electric three-wheeler fabrication and painting plant, invest in new product development, and meet their working capital needs. They're definitely aiming to grow their manufacturing capacity.
That makes sense given they're in the manufacturing space. And Avax, what are they planning to do with the money?
Avax primarily wants to meet its working capital requirements and also for general corporate purposes. So more focused on the immediate needs of the business,
Okay, I see. So let's talk about the financials. What are the key performance indicators, starting with B.R. Goyal?
Right. Their market cap is around 321 crore rupees. They have a return on equity ROE of 18.91% and return on capital employed ROEC of 19.72%. Their debt to equity ratio is around 0.50. So they seem to be in pretty good shape.
That sounds like a solid financial position, actually. And how about Delta Autocorp's numbers?
Delta Autocorp's market cap is around 198 crore rupees. Their ROE is 23.69% and their ROCE is 19.32%. The debt to equity ratio is a little lower at 0.49. So good numbers too, but a smaller size company.
Okay, those are pretty good returns as well. And lastly, what about Avax's key performance indicators?
Avax is a market capitalization of just 7.27 crore rupees. Their ROE is a high 43.91% and their ROCE is 61.68%. Their debt is negligible. But you have to keep in mind that they are the smallest and operate in a different sector.
Wow, those are some high returns, but yeah, they're definitely smaller. It seems like there are so many factors to look at when considering these.
Exactly. And you have to consider the risks too. For instance, B.R. Goyal has a huge order book of 873 crore rupees, but a lot depends on their ability to execute their projects efficiently and on time.
That's a fair point. And what could be the risks for Delta Autocorp?
For Delta Autocorp, it's the competitive landscape in the EV sector, plus their static top lines for the last 2 financial years is something to watch. And their borrowings of around 11 crore rupees are a concern.
Right, that's a competitive market. And for Avax, what are the risks for them?
Avax, despite having good financials, operates in fragmented sectors and they have a small equity base. So it's a long-term prospect. It's a high risk / low return bet, as some experts say, and more suitable for well-informed investors.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. It sounds like each company has its own set of challenges to overcome. It's not just about the numbers, it's also about the business, right?
Precisely. It's about the company's growth prospects, industry risks, and how well the management can execute their plans. So, do your research and consider your own risk appetite carefully before investing.
Absolutely. And I guess we will be watching how these IPOs perform over the next few weeks.
Definitely. It'll be interesting to see how the market receives them and how these companies grow in the future. So keep an eye out for that.